Welcome to Spooky News for December 6, 2019. We've got a lot of spooky news for you, so let's just get right to it. This is our weekly reminder that everything at Spooky Ventures is supposed to be interactive, so if you've got ideas for videos, please let us know. If you want to submit some videos for us to include, either as part of our playlists or as something actually on our YouTube channel, that would be great too. We're looking for people to do spooky places videos, or if you want to get interviewed for one of our interviews, that's great. Also, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel, and always remember, keep it spooky. There are some UFO photos that were by Billy Edward Albert Meyer, and they were from 1975. And some of them in this series have been made famous by the show The X-Files. In fact, the Truth Is Out There poster featured one of the photos. Well, those photos are up for sale by auction at Sotheby's, the original photos anyway. So if you want a piece of UFO and X-Files history, there's something out there you could get your hands on. If you want to try to see aliens and you don't want to risk getting arrested by authorities from some government, check out a list I'll be sharing of places to see aliens without dealing with the government. There's a Brazilian Area 51, there's a UFO gravesite in Texas, UFO capital of Australia. There are a number of these places, and you can check them out and go have a visit. If you're going to be in Newport News, Virginia anytime soon, you might want to visit Fort Eustis and the U.S. Army Transportation Museum, because they've got a real flying saucer there. Okay, now, when I say that, this isn't some space thing, but it is pretty cool. It's a Canadian airplane experiment from the 50s, and it looks like a flying saucer. It was a vertical takeoff and landing plane, and it's going to be on display in the museum. So you can go see a flying saucer in this museum. It's just not extraterrestrial. While these days, Christmas is more synonymous with cheesy romances a la the Hallmark Channel, there was a time when, and not that long ago, when ghost stories were all the rage for Christmas. And Book Riot has collected a whole list of spooky stories for Christmas time that you can read. they'll point you in the right direction with a little description and cover and everything. So why don't you put the spooky back in Christmas? It was always there before. Book Riot has a new list out called 14 of the best spooky reads to close out autumn, and it's a pretty cool list. Honestly, I haven't read anything on it, but there's some that's kind of cool because it gives me a place to look for things to read. But it includes stuff like Ghoster by Jason Arnott. Um, you've got Things We Say in the Dark by Kirsty Logan. The Need by Helen Phillips, and of course 11 more of them. So I'll include the list here, and you can have a look and check out some books. Howard and Brian Grazer's company, Imagine Entertainment, is going to be producing a new documentary series for Netflix that's going to be all about haunted locations in the United States. And it says it's going to be going into meticulous detail about the various locations and the stories and that kind of stuff. Now, there's no release date set or not a lot of information. I don't even think there's a title yet, but it sounds like it ought to be a cool documentary series, so we'll see what happens with that. Besides, if Ron Howard's involved, you know it's going to be quality stuff. Keep an eye open for a new series called Scared Stiff. I'm not sure where it's going to be broadcast, uh, but it's going to be a comedic take on ghost hunting, so it should be a fun show. I'll give you a link. You can take a look at the article and hopefully keep track of where it's going to be showing because they haven't announced what platform it's going to be on yet. There was talk a while ago about a new horror anthology series called Ghost Stories coming to Netflix. Well, there's now a release date, January 1st. So keep your eyes open for that one. It should be creepy stuff. I mean, come on. Horror anthology series are always great. Well, not always, but most of them are pretty darn cool, even the ones that are not as good as some of the rest. So, and Netflix is getting quite a history of doing some spooky stuff, so they'll be keeping it spooky. Well, if you've been watching a lot of these spooky news, you know I love lists. Well, Good Housekeeping has a list of 12 best Christmas horror movies to stream this year. And of course, the top one they list is Black Christmas, the original, not the new version coming out. Obviously, you can't stream that one. They've got Gremlins and Krampus, and I'm not going to give you the whole list. I'm going to give you the link to the list, and you can check it out yourself. But there are plenty of cool Christmas horror movies, so you can definitely keep the holiday spooky. We talked a long time ago about how James Wan is doing a new horror movie, and there wasn't a lot of information out there at the time. And there's still not a ton, but he has released a photo from behind the scenes of the shooting of the movie, and also we finally have a title, Malignant. So that's something to keep your eyes open for, and that will certainly be coming out sometime next year, would be my guess, and we'll be able to see Malignant and see what it's all about. Green Rant has an interesting list about spooky events that actually happened on horror movie sets, and a lot of these stories have been around for a while. You know, you got everything from the Amityville Horror to The Exorcist and a lot more. So check out the list. I mean, you might have heard some of these stories before, perhaps not all of them. So have a look around. We've got a rest in peace announcement here. Joan Staley died. Now, she was known for a lot of shows, but for people who are fans of Spooky, at least the funny Spooky, uh, you'll know her from The Ghost and Mr. Chicken and with Don Knotts. That was really a classic film. She was 79 years old, and so rest in peace. Once more, we come up with my love of lists, and BuzzFeed has a list of 13 horror movies so disturbing they were literally banned from being shown upon release. It includes The Evil Dead, I Spit on Your Grave, The Exorcist, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Last House on the Left. I'm not going to go down the whole list, but you know, a lot of times when you're pushing the envelope, people push back for a little while, and that's what happened with a lot of these movies that are now considered classics. I mean, come on, The Exorcist is shown on AMC, sure with some edits, but you know, you get the idea. So that's the deal there. Are you a fan of the bizarro movie called Spookies from the 80s? Well, if so, you're in luck. It's just been released on Blu ray for the first time. So apparently, there's a special edition too that's limited to a certain number of copies. So you might want to hurry and get yours to get the special edition. Screen Rant has a new list of the 10 most underrated zombie movies of all time. And I've got to say, out of the list, I've only actually seen one, so these are probably pretty well under the radar of a lot of people. I might just have to seek out a bunch of them. Although Train to Busan I have seen part of, and since it's in Korean, the subtitles kind of threw me off. Couldn't really get into the mood of the movie. But there is one movie in the list I've seen, which is The Serpent and the Rainbow, which I remember being an incredibly scary movie. At least very creepy. I remember it gave me. It was one movie that genuinely scared me when I saw it, but I haven't seen it, in years. But uh, it's a cool list, so you might find some zombie movies you've never seen too. I mean, some of these are probably pretty obscure from the looks of it, so have a look at the list and get viewing some zombie movies. It's kind of hard to think about The Evil Dead without thinking about Bruce Campbell. Well, they're going to be doing a new Evil Dead movie, and Bruce Campbell's going to be the producer. So he's clearly got a real finger on the pulse of what that show is really about. So it should be pretty good, I think. Besides, he's just a good guy. Yet another of those lists that I like so much, Screen Rant has listed the 10 most terrifying ghosts in horror movies. And the list includes everything from the ghost in the bathtub in The Shining, and even the librarian ghost in Ghostbusters. So why don't you have a look at the list and see what you think of it? Maybe you'll have some things that you thought should be in and some others that you don't agree with being in there at all. But that's the beauty of lists. They're always someone's opinion. And that's a wrap for this week's edition of Spooky News. Be sure to tell your friends about us. In fact, share the videos. And tune in next week for more spooky news. And keep a watch on the channel for other cool stuff. Spooky Ventures is the home for spooky content and spooky merchandise on the web. Check it out today at spookyventures.com. And remember, always keep it spooky.